Well, hello everyone. This is Troy Harper here at Harper Cigar Lounge. Welcome back to part two of From Havana to Horror. And today I will continue on reading the original script by Debra Hill and John Carpenter for the 1978 Halloween movie. And last show that I did, we started in Haddonfield, Illinois, October 31st, 1963, where Michael had killed his sister, and his parents pulled up in front of the house and saw Michael standing there after he had killed his sister, and then went on to be in the Smith's Grove Sanitarium, which then on the last show we read the script where it jumped ahead to Halloween 30th of 1978 in Haddonfield, Illinois, at the Smithfield Sanitarium, where Michael had escaped and drove off, stole a car from Dr. Loomis and the nurse. And I'm trying to remember her name again. Um, but so he had Marion. I'm sorry, Marion is the nurse um, that's in the beginning of the original Halloween movie uh, when Dr. Loomis and her both are driving to the sanitarium where Michael is and escaped, of course. Dr. Loomis and Marion, the nurse Marion, so Michael stole their car and drove off, and so that was the end of the last show. That's where we ended. Now we're going to jump ahead to again Haddonfield, Illinois, October 30th, 1978. And before we continue on, though, I want to play a little bit of the trailer, and I want to make sure I got my dates right. No, actually, it'll be, let's see here. I want to say it's October 30th that we jump ahead to, but no, it's actually October 31st of 1978 is where we will start reading on from the original movie scripts of 1978 Halloween. And today I've got a great cigar from that originated in Havana, Cuba. This is the Montecristo Espada Oscuro Magnum Especial 6x60 Gordo. Beautiful, beautiful stick. Nice, dark, and oily. And those cigar bands on there are just gorgeous. The black and gold and silver, and just a gorgeous cigar. Or is it just all black and gold? No, there's some silver, it looks like, on there also. But yeah, just a beautiful cigar. Um, Wrapper is a rare, well-aged Habano Rosado Oscuro that contributes to the complex flavors of this cigar. Binder filler is a various Nicaraguan tobaccos, including Cuban-Seed Habano, leaves from Jalapa. And taste notes are dark chocolate, espresso spice, black pepper, earth, leather, and natural tobacco sweetness, as well as some fruit flavors. A bold, rich, full-bodied cigar designed for the experienced cigar enthusiast. Has a very elegant presentation, which I definitely agree. Look at that, just that beautiful stick, gorgeous. Um, and created by the Plasencia family. Uh, the origin of this cigar is Nicaragua and runs around $19 a stick. And this cigar, the Montecristo name originated in Havana, Cuba, in 1935 when Menendez, Alonso Menendez, and Pepe Garcia found the brand. So anyway, again, the um, Montecristo, Espada Oscuro, Magnum Especial 6x60 Gordo. So anyway, we'll get this clipped and we'll get it toasted up and lit. And while I'm doing this, before I clip it and toast it, getting a taste of the wrapper. Um, some very slight taste notes on the wrapper. A little bit of more of a leather kind of taste note to it. And before I go on, also I want to say thank you. This was gifted to me by Jacob Lee with the YouTube channel that he's got on YouTube here called Jake Not From State Farm. Is his channel, and Jake's Music State is the name of his show. Does a lot of great metal, hard rock reviews, and also has a little bit of some cigar content along with some of his shows. And I know he's got some more plans in the future to have more cigar content as well. So kudos to you, buddy. And again, thank you for gifting this to me. I can't wait to dive into this. And so let me get this clipped. I'm gonna go ahead and use my V cut. This is the um, Calibri cutter that my son gave me. It's got the guillotine cutter and the V cut. Great cutter. It captures all the tobacco inside of this after you cut it. So it's a great cutter. And so there's the V cut that I used. And let me get you one more look at that before I toast it up and everything. So gorgeous stick. So anyway, I'm gonna get this toasted up real quick, and then we will move on here to the party. So glad you guys could be here. Hope you guys brought a great cigar, great drink with you today. I got my water. I'm being a good boy today. I've actually got just a little shot of rum, some Kraken rum, and so I want to toast you guys, as you guys all mean a lot to me. And Daniel remains out there in Canada. Robert Sharp in the UK. Antonello Nicastro out in the UK. I hope you guys catch this show and enjoy it. And I hope you guys will have a good time during this show. I'm glad you're here. Without you guys, I couldn't do any of this. I wouldn't want to do any of this without you. And so if you know anybody that's into horror and cigars, heavy metal and cigars, make sure you guys pass on this information to whoever that is. Pass this show, this content on everybody you know. And if you're new to this, make sure you subscribe today. Hit the bell below to get all the latest content and updates. And give me a like, please. It'd be very helpful to this channel. And give me your comments, questions, and feedback. And again, please share this content with everybody you know. Um, I would really appreciate it. It'll help keep this channel going and keep it around for all of you out there. And I appreciate all of you so much. Tony Taylor and Lance Williams, Ira Lee with the TBC, and Danielle. Um, and let's see here. Um, Gotta look up one more name here. Um, well, they'll come back to me. Keith Senior, or Keith Meisner Senior, I believe is Keith's last name, Meisner Senior. Anyway, I'll have to double check that before this is over. Anyway, but I want to get this finished lighting up this great cigar. I want to give it a light. I've got it toasted up a little bit. Want to give it a final light and toast you guys here for being here, and you guys are just awesome. I'm glad you guys are here. I appreciate all of you so much. You guys are the greatest. So glad you're here. Let me know in the comments what you brought with you to smoke. I think I've got it going pretty good. Got that in lit evenly and glowing nicely with a nice orangish reddish color. Now, wow, the draw is terrific on this. A lot of pepper right off the beginning here. A lot of pepper. Leather, cedar, a lot of pepper. Getting a touch of cocoa as well, but that pepper is really standing out. And by the way, before I move on, I'm wearing my Boston Scally Pumpkinhead cap. I got some different pumpkin cap pins, and this is from the Boston Scally Company. It's called the Pumpkinhead, and it's a 8-panel peaky. Just a beautiful hat. There's the inside of it right there, Pumpkinhead. Wool and polyester, fits very comfortably. Black panel in the front and orange and black plaid all the way around the rest. A little button on the top. So anyway, I thought this would be kind of a cool hat to wear today. And of course, I got my Halloween shirt on from the movie poster the night he came home. Yeah. So anyway, let's get into a couple things here before I move on. Here, guys. Okay, so we'll pause that, and we're gonna go from that to the trailer. Oh, what's going on here? Well, I'm having some technical difficulties. Let me try this again. Okay, let's do it this way.
Halloween night. A small American town. 15 years ago. Michael? Halloween.
I spent 8 years trying to reach him, and then another 7 trying to keep him locked up because I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. I think he'll come back.
Exploring uncharted territory.
Totally charted.
Just talk.
Sure. The only reason she babysits is to have
Halloween.
Okay, Linda. Come on out.
Okay. Well, that's quite the trailer. That is quite the trailer. I love seeing that. I never get tired of seeing that trailer. I tell you what, it's still to this day, it just spooks me, that trailer. And I'll never forget seeing that trailer for the first time as a kid, when they advertised it on HBO, I believe. I believe they had that trailer on HBO at the time. Um, and I just will never forget seeing that for the first time when I was, oh gosh, I was 8 years old at the time. So, yeah, just to this day, a movie that I still, a franchise I still follow, and I've got every Halloween there is except for the Rob Zombie stuff. I can't get into the Rob Zombie Halloweens, but I've got everything else, and it's just been a fun franchise to follow all these years, and I'll never forget again seeing it for the first time and sneaking up so many other nights to watch that movie. So, and it's just been continued. It's just continued on to be a part of my life, and yeah. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that trailer. It just gives me a lot of goosebumps and raises the hair up on the back of my neck every time I see that. And I'll apologize ahead of time if YouTube decides to take that down. I hope they don't. Hope I won't be in any trouble for showing that trailer and some of the music beforehand. But um, if you guys have been a fan of Halloween over all these years, tell me the highlights of the Halloween franchise that you like, or from this first movie, or the new stuff that came out, over the past few years or so. Let me know any of your favorite movies in the Halloween franchise and how long you've been following it. And yeah, just let me know anything about it that you are interested in, with the whole Halloween thing, franchise and all that. So, but guys, thanks again for being here. I want to give you guys a toast. I've got some Kraken rum. So cheers to you guys. I won't take the whole shot at once. Save a little bit for later. But anyway, hope you guys are enjoying yourselves so far. Again, thanks for being here. And let's get into the rest of this script. So now we have jumped ahead to October 31st, 1978 in Haddonfield, Illinois, which again is a fictitious town. And remember again in the last show, we read all the scripts, or I read all the script from when Michael had killed his sister, and then was saw by his parents while he was out in the front of his house. And there are some things that I had mentioned that I had made some mistakes on, that I corrected myself in on the comments from the last podcast. So make sure you read the comments, go through all the comments, and read all the different things that I had thought was going on, that I had clearly made a few little mistakes on for the information. And so make sure you go back and check that out. I just noticed that my flag here is all bent out. So I gotta get that straightened out. There we go. So anyway, make sure you go through and read the comments, because there were some things that I thought had happened in the movie that really didn't, or I had kind of talked about a few things that were wrong. So I don't want to get into all that because I don't want to keep you guys a long time. But go back and read the comments from the first podcast, and you'll see the things that I corrected. But there's definitely some things that happened in the movie that were different than the original script here. And we'll see we'll see how the script plays out compared to the rest of the Halloween movie. Anything that I catch while I'm reading this that I kind of remembered happened in the movie that didn't show in the scripts, or vice versa, I will point those things out. So anyway, October 31st, 1978. Lori's house. Day of Halloween, October 31st, 1978. Lori, 17, a pretty in a let's see, a 17 and pretty in a quiet sort of way, steps out of her two-story frame house down the front walk to the street. Her face has a soft, innocent quality, her eyes bright and alive. Her father steps out of the door behind her and walks to the car in the driveway. His car has Strode Real Estate on the side of the car. Emblem emblazoned on the side door. So of course I do remember that. Before I continue on, I'm going to take this one band off here. Anyway, so there's part of the cigar band right there. Really pretty, really pretty. But I'm going to take that off so I don't get interrupted here so quickly with when this burns down. I don't want to have to take that band off. But doing good so far. The cigar is doing great. Anyway, so Father says, don't forget to drop off the key at the Myers place. Lori says, I won't. Father, they're coming to see the house at 10:30. Be sure to leave it under the mat. Lori says, I promise. Tracking shot of Lori. Camera moves with Lori as she walks down the residential street. She carries a large bundle of school books in her arms. Across a backyard, Tommy Doyle, an 8-year-old boy with tousled brown hair and bright blue eyes, comes running with his books. Tommy says, hey, Lori. And Lori says, hi, Tommy. He catches up with her and they walk along down the street. Tommy, are you coming over tonight? Lori says, same time, same place. Tommy says, can we make jack-o'-lanterns? Lori says, sure. Tommy, can we watch the monster movies? Lori says, sure. Tommy, will you read to me? Can we make popcorn? Lori says, sure, sure. They walk up the front of the old 2-story Myers house, head back from the street. It is now weather-beaten and dilapidated. Lori walks through the front gate and starts up towards the porch. You're not supposed to go up there, Tommy says. Lori holds up a key. Lori says, yes, I am. Tommy, that's a spook house. Lori says, just watch. Lori strolls up to the front porch. She bends down, lifts the welcome mat, and places the key under it. Inside the Myers house, through the front window, we see Lori bending over the welcome mat. Suddenly the dark shape, the outline of a man, leans forward watching her as she walks back to Tommy at the street. The shape moves to watch them, then fades back into the interior of the house. Tracking shot, Lori and Tommy. Lori and Tommy continue to walk down the street. Let's see here. Lonnie Elam said, well, first of all, one thing that was in the movie that's not on the script, Tommy Doyle says, you're not supposed to, or did it say that? Let's see here. Oh, yes, never mind, guys. He did say that. He was telling her not to go up to the house because it was a spook house, and he said that, told her that she couldn't go up there, and she said, yes, I am going up there. And he said, that's a spook house, and she said, just watch. And then that's when she placed the key under the doormat. And of course, the shape, which is Michael Myers, is actually inside the door in the movie, watching her put the key under the mat and walking back to Tommy, and then as they walk off. So yes, that did happen in the movie. Let's see here. So anyway, Laura and Tommy continue to walking down the street. Lonnie Elam said never to go up there. Lonnie Elam said it's a haunted house. He said real awful stuff happened there once. Laura said Lonnie Elam probably won't get out of the 6th grade. Tommy breaks stride and runs across the street. I gotta go. I'll see you tonight. Lori says, see you. Lori continues walking alone. She begins to sing quietly to herself. I wish I had you all alone. Just the two of us. I would hold you close to me. So close to me. Angle down the street. We see Lori walking off down the street in the distance. Close to camera, the dark shape moves into frame, watching Lori disappear around the corner. And then Lori sings, continuing, just the two of us, so close to me. Exit, sanitarium day. Sam Loomis strides quietly out of the front of the sanitarium, followed immediately by Dr. Wine, a gray-haired man, excuse me, a gray-haired man in his 40s. Camera tracks with them across the parking lot. I'm not responsible, Sam. Loomis angrily, of course not. When I've given them his profile, Loomis says, you must have told them we shocked him and a grinning idiot. You must have told them we shocked him into a grinning idiot. 2 roadblocks and at all points, bulletin wouldn't stop a 5-year-old. Loomis reaches a car and unlocks it. Wine says, he was your patient, doctor. If the precautions weren't sufficient, you should have been notified. Loomis says, I notified everybody, and nobody listened. So Wynn was telling Loomis, he was your patient, doctor. If the precautions weren't sufficient, you should have notified. And Loomis says, I notified everyone, nobody listened. Wine says, there's nothing else I can do. Loomis says, you can get back to the telephone and tell them exactly what walked out of here last night and tell them where he's going. And when or Wine says, probably going. Loomis, I'm wasting time. Loomis gets in the car. Wynn leans down to the window, and Wynn says, Sam, Haddonfield is 150 miles from here. How could he get there? He can't drive. Loomis said he was doing all well, in the script it says all right last night. Loomis in the movie says he was doing very well last night. And then said maybe someone around here gave him lessons. Loomis starts up the car and pulls away from the sanitarium. Wynn watches him go, then hurries back into the building. Cut to classroom, day of Halloween. Laurie sits in the back of a classroom of a high school. Sits in the back of a classroom of high school students. Camera moves in on her to a teacher droned. Camera moves in on her as a teacher drones away at the front of the room. Teacher says, and the book ends, but what Samuels is really talking about here is fate. Camera moves to a close-up of Laurie. She barely listens to the teacher as the doodles in her notebook in front of her. As she doodles in her notebook in front of her. Teacher says, you see fate caught up with several lives here. No matter what course of action Rollins took, he was destined to his own fate, his own day of reckoning with himself. The idea is that destiny is a very real, concrete thing that every person has to deal with. Laurie lets her gaze move to a window. She stares dreamily outside. Laurie's point of view out into the street. From the window, she can see the street and a station wagon parked along the sidewalk. Behind the station wagon stands the shape of a man. We can't quite see his features from here, but it is clear that he is looking in the school window. Angle on Laurie. She turns away from the window and begins to doodle again. Angle on notebook. We see Laurie's drawings. Teacher Strode. Let's see. Laurie Strode. Teacher. Continuing. Edwin, how does Samuel's view of fate differ from that of Costain? Costain. Angle on Laurie. She glances up from the book and out the window again. Laurie's point of view out into the street. The shape behind the station wagon is still there and staring right at her. Angle on Laurie. She frowns, staring back at the shape. Doesn't he feel that no matter how complicated something is, it's also really simple too? Teacher says no. Laurie. This brings her around from the window. Ma'am, answer the question. Teacher saying to Laurie. Teacher talking to Laurie still here. Costain wrote the fate was somehow related only to religion, where Samuels felt that fate was like a natural element, like earth, air, fire, and water. That's right, Samuel's divinity personalized fate. Laurie sneaks a glance back to the window. Laurie's point of view out into the street. The shape and the station wagon are gone. Angle on Laurie. She turns back from the window and back to her notebook. Angle on notebook. She has written, Laurie Strode is lonely. Now in the movie, I don't remember any close-ups of her notebook of what all this is saying. The doodles and the that right there, what it said on her notebook, Laurie is lonely. it didn't show any of that in the movie, but it shows it in the script, but it didn't show that in the movie. So there's a couple things there that the movie didn't show that the scripts, obviously were originally supposed to show maybe. So anyway. So the cigar is good, but it's got a little bit of a tight draw. I'm going to use my draw enhancer on it to see if I can open up the draw. So there's my little draw enhancer right there. I will just poke that right down the center here and make sure I poke it in evenly so it doesn't go out the side. It's the last thing you want to have happen is poke a hole out the side of your cigar, then it will start cracking on you. And give this one more toast here in a light. See if I can open up the draw a little bit more on this. But it's tasting really good. Good leather notes, pepper, some slight cocoa, cedar. Definitely some slight pepper and spice right now. It's kind of calmed down a little bit. This is considered a full strength cigar, but right now I'd consider this more of a medium strength. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Now it's perfect. The draw has opened up a lot with that draw enhancer. And wow, now it's really going good. If you guys don't have a draw enhancer, they're very cheap. Get them on Amazon, eBay for, I don't know, $3 or $4, around there, up to maybe $6. But yeah, those draw enhancers really do some wonders sometimes. Cigars are made by human hands, so there's going to be some imperfections at times. And sometimes you'll get a cigar that's just rolled a little bit too tight. But those draw enhancers really open up that binder or that filler in there and really allows the air pass through it a lot better, so you get a better draw. So, which in return should help this stay lit a little bit better and shouldn't go out on me as easy now. So, anyway, we ended with where Laurie Strode, where it says on her notebook, Laurie Strode is lonely, on her notebook in the classroom. Okay, so now we're to a scene where there's a gas station on a highway during the day on Halloween 31st. It says we see a car parked in front of a small closed down gas station diner by the side of the highway. Camera slowly tracks over to a phone booth. Loomis is inside on the telephone. Loomis into telephone. No, not since Thursday. Yes, I'm all right. Stop worrying. After this, I'll sleep for a week, 2 weeks. Pauses again. I said I'm all right. Believe me, I'll be home soon. Yes, I do. Very much. I just have to stop him. Of course, it's possible, but I know him, and when he gets there, God help us. Not sure who he was talking to on the phone. It's one thing never really revealed in the movie or in the scripts here who he's actually talking to. Never in the movies, never talks about Loomis is married or anything like that. So I don't know who he's talking to exactly. I'm guessing it's the police, is what I'm thinking. Loomis hangs up the phone and steps out of the booth. He looks up the highway. Loomis' point of view onto the highway. The highway disappears off into the distance. There is an old weather beaten sign that reads Haddonfield 73 miles. Just above the horizon, huge clusters of clouds, dark and ominous, are blown along by the wind. Back to the gas station, Loomis turns and walks back to his car. He glances at the old gas station as he walks. Loomis' point of view gas station moving shot. The building is dark, empty, dilapidated. On the paddle lock door are huge marks like the clawing of an animal wanting to get in. Loomis stops, stares at the door, and then slowly walks over to it. He touches the marks with his hands, then looks at the dirt driveway and around the building. Now this is none of this is in the movie. This what I'm reading here. It none of this is in the movie that I'm reading here. They cut all this out of the movie. Loomis stops, stares at the door, and then slowly walks over to it. He touches the marks with his hands, then looks at the dirt driveway around the building. Loomis' point of view in the driveway. There are definitive tire tracks leading from the highway up to the door, then back to the highway again. Then his gaze returns to a discarded object crushed in the dirt of the driveway, a pack of cigarettes. Angle on Loomis, he picks up the cigarette pack, close shot, cigarette pack, stuck in the cellophane of the crushed pack are matches. The Rabbit and Red Lounge, Entertainment Nightly, which was in the car that was stolen by Michael from Marion, Nurse Marion and Dr. Loomis the night before. So this is the pack of cigarettes and the matches that were in the station wagon that was stolen by Michael at the sanitarium the night before, that Dr. Loomis and Marion were in as they had pulled up and saw all the patients that were loose, and Michael had jumped up on top of the car and put a pretty good scare into Marion, broke one window and kind of grabbed at her and everything before she jumped out. He jumped in and drove off. So all this is not in the movie. We'll read on just a little bit more because I'll tell you what was in the movie here. Loomis turns and quickly strides back to his car, gets in and roars away from the lonely gas station. So in the movie, it shows Dr. Loomis in the telephone booth talking to whoever it was. I'm guessing it was the police or detectives. And after he leaves the telephone booth, he sees a pickup, an old, I don't know if it was a Ford or Chevrolet pickup, I can't remember, but Michael had obviously had gotten rid of the car, or I'm sorry, not got rid of the car. He had obviously had parked his car somewhere at one point between the night before and I'm guessing it was all the night before, but inside the pick there was an abandoned pickup, and inside the pickup it shows a Michael's gown that he wore at the sanitarium, and inside of that pickup was where the matches and the pack of cigarettes were, and so Michael had obviously had stopped someone and had, that was obviously a mechanic, and stole his outfit, and of course, then had left his gown laying in the truck. So when Loomis, after he got out of the telephone booth and they were showing the pickup that Loomis had found with Michael's gown in it and the cigarettes and the Red Rabbit pack of matches, Loomis rushed off to get into his own vehicle again, and then it pans over to that guy in a field that's dead that Dr. Loomis didn't see, and that's what it showed instead of all this that it's talking about. Loomis never did go to a garage or anything like that. He noticed the truck, saw Michael's gown in it, and then had went to the phone booth to call, the police or whatever. And then he went back to the truck in the scene, and, it showed Michael's gown and showed the dead man, or the mechanic that Michael had killed, laying in the field. So that's what it showed in the movie. It didn't show any of this. So it's just wild how they had changed some of this up, so anyway, so then it goes to out of that scene, it goes into the next scene where there's a schoolyard. The playground is filled with children just getting out of school for the day. Some are dressed in Halloween costumes. Some carry pumpkins and orange and black streamers. Some carry jack-o'-lanterns. Tommy Doyle comes out of the door carrying a very large pumpkin. He is followed by three boys. I'm sorry, Richie, Keith, and Lonnie. who are laughing and pushing him. Tommy says, "Leave me alone." Lonnie says, "He's gonna get you." Lonnie says, "He's gonna get you." Um, Lonnie runs up to Tommy and wiggles his fingers in Tommy's face. The other boys form a circle around Tommy and taunt him. In unison, they sing, "He's gonna get you, he's gonna get you, he's gonna get you. The boogeyman is coming." Tommy says, "No, he's not. Leave me alone." Lonnie says, "He doesn't believe us. Don't you know what happens on Halloween?" Tommy says, "Yeah, we get candy." The boys laugh. Richie runs up to Tommy and makes a face. Richie, ooh, the boogeyman. The other boys join in the chant. Boys in unison, the boogeyman, the boogeyman, the boogeyman. Tommy turns from them and starts to run away. Richie sticks out his foot. Tommy trips and falls to the concrete, smashing his pumpkin beneath him. The other boys run away, giggling and screaming with delight. Playground entrance at the gate now. As the boys race out the playground, Richie barrels through the gate and runs right into the dark shape. We don't see the shape's face, just his lower body. He is dressed in pants and a shirt that looks too big for him. Now there was no shirt in Michael's costume is one outfit. It's a mechanic's outfit. It's all one piece. There's no shirt and pants. He grabs Richie and holds him back at arm's length. And at this point, the boy is staring up, and just, on the inside, he's freaking out. He's stunned. He's seeing this image in front of him, and he's being grabbed by it. So Richie's looking up and just, he's almost paralyzed because he's almost not understanding what's really going on at that moment, how he got grabbed by this person, that he can't explain or what he is. A large object falls out of his pocket. Richie quickly stares down at it. The shape lifts his foot and smacks it down over the object to hide it. Quickly, Richie and the other two boys run around the man and on down the block. Now that didn't happen in the movie either. When the shape, which is Michael Myers, grabs Richie, and he's staring up at, and it's not showing Michael's face, or it's just showing the upper body and down, but Michael lets him go and he runs off. It doesn't show the other two boys and Richie running around him. So anyway, but it says the Richie and the two boys run around the man and on down the block. So the shape lifts his foot underneath it as a large butcher knife. He quickly picks it up and shoves it into his pocket. That wasn't in the movie. Nothing, no knives shown in this scene where after he had grabbed Richie. Yeah, they didn't show any of that in the movie. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that scene again, but if I'm wrong, you guys let me know. Tell me what you remember of the scene, but I don't remember anything falling on Michael's pocket and him stepping over it and then picking it up and putting it, in his pocket or anything like that. Yeah, it didn't show any of that. Slowly, the shape turns and walks away from the playground gate, camera tracking with him. Across from him in the playground, we see Tommy get to his feet, wiping the demolished pumpkin off of his shirt and pants. We track with the shape to a station wagon on the side of the door. Is a state emblem. Back to the station wagon. The shape gets in the station wagon. We still don't see his face. Separating the front and back seats is the wire mesh screen. It is Loomis's vehicle. The shape starts the engine. He pulls away from the curb. From the window, slowly the station wagon moves down the street. We see Tommy hurrying along the sidewalk, still rubbing off the pumpkin splatter. Tommy turns off the sidewalk and cuts up a side alley. And that didn't show that either. And he was walking very slow on the sidewalk. He wasn't scurrying along or hurrying along at all. He was walking very slowly, looking straight ahead, never did turn to see the station wagon following him. And it never shows Tommy cutting off or turning off onto the sidewalk and cutting up a side alley. Or it didn't show any of that. It just shows Michael in the car. You can see, through the car, the camera through the car looking at Tommy Doyle while he's walking and brushing himself off still, but he's walking very slow. Actually puts his hands in his pockets and never did look over to see the car. And then it just shows, the car from inside the car driving off, leaving Tommy kind of behind on the sidewalk as the car drives off. That's what it showed in the scene. So definitely some different stuff in here compared to what's in the movie. So anyway, you guys tell me in the comments what you think so far of these scripts compared to what the movie shows. If you guys have seen the movie, if you guys haven't seen the original Halloween from 1978, definitely got to check it out. It's boy, I tell you what, it's a thriller, and it's very suspenseful, not real bloody or anything like that, just very suspenseful, which is what I liked about it. It wasn't a typical slasher movie where there was a lot of blood and gore. It was just very suspenseful the way Michael, followed everybody around, walked around, and yes, it does show Michael, of course, killing people, but there's not a ton of blood in it or gore or anything like that. Yeah, they didn't do a lot of there just wasn't a lot of that kind of thing in this movie. Let's see here. The wagon picks up speed and continues on down the street, which is correct, but it doesn't show Tommy going down an alley or anything like that. Back to the high school. Lori and Linda, onto a high school. Lori and Linda stroll down the front steps of the high school and turn up the street. Lori carries another large stack of books. Linda is a knockout in tight jeans and tight t-shirt. She carries no books, camera track with them up the street. Linda says it's totally insane. We have 3 new cheers to learn in the morning. The game is in the afternoon. I get my hair done at 5 and the dance is at 8. I'll be totally wiped out. Lori says, I think you have too much to do tomorrow. Linda, totally, she says. Lori, as usual, I don't have anything to do. Linda says, it's your own fault and I don't feel sorry for you. Annie comes out of the side doors of the high school and calls after Lori and Linda. She runs up to him at this point, and Annie says, hey, Linda, Lori. The girls stop and wait for Annie. Annie continuing, why didn't you wait for me? We did 15 minutes. You totally never showed up. Annie says, that's not true. Here I am. What's wrong, Annie? You're not smiling. Annie says, I'm never smiling again. Paul dragged me into the boys' locker room, to tell me exploring. And then Lori says, exploring uncharted territory. Linda says it's been totally charted. Annie, we just talked. Linda says, sure. Annie says, old Jerko got caught throwing eggs and soaping windows. His parents grounded him for the weekend. He can't come over tonight. Lori says, I thought you were babysitting tonight. Linda says, the only reason the babysits. Linda says the only reason she babysits is to have a place to. Lori suddenly stops and turns back toward the school. Lori says, shit. Annie, indignant, says, I have a place for that. Lori says, I forgot my chemistry book. Linda says, who cares? I always forget my chemistry book. Lori glances down the street. Lori's point of vision sees a station wagon. The station wagon slowly moves up the street towards them. The shape isn't visible behind the windshield. Angle on the girls. Linda says, isn't that Devon Graham? He's cute. Lori says, I don't think so. Lori stares at the station wagon as it moves past. She looks directly at the shape inside. There is a quick glimpse of him, a strange pale face staring back. Back back to the station wagon. The shape is close to camera, out of focus, out of window, or out the window. We see the three girls on the sidewalk. So it has a camera view where it looks like Michael's looking at them on the sidewalk from the car. The shape stares at Lori, looking back at him, then tromps on the accelerator. The wagon whizzes past them. Angle on the girls. Annie yells after the car. Speed kills. Back to the station wagon, up the street. Point of vision, station wagon. Up the street, the wagon suddenly stops. It sits there waiting. Angle on girls. Annie, softer now, says, "Can't you take a joke?" Point of view back to the station wagon. For a moment, the station wagon just sits there. Then it takes off down the street and disappears around a corner. Angle on the girls. Lori, Annie, someday you're going to get us all in deep trouble. Linda says, "Totally." Annie, I hate a guy with a car and no sense of humor. The girls start walking again. Lori is quiet, puzzled by the appearance of the man in the car. Linda says, "We are still on for tonight." Annie, I wouldn't want to get you in deep trouble, Linda. Annie says. Linda says, "Come on, Annie. Bob and I have been planning on it all week." Annie, all right, the Wallaces leave at 7. Lori, excited, "I'm babysitting for the Doyles. It's only 3 houses away. We can keep each other company." Annie says, "Terrific. I've got 3 choices. Watch the kids sleep, listen to Linda screw around, or talk to you." Extension, residential street, day of Halloween. The 3 girls stop in front of Linda's house, a modest suburban home on a quiet, tree-lined street. Annie says, "What time?" Linda says, "I don't know yet. I have to get out of taking my stupid brother trick-or-treating." Annie, saving the treats for Bob? "Funny, see you," says Linda. Linda strolls up to her house. Annie and Lori start down the street. Camera moves in to a close shot of Lori's face. She stares ahead along the sidewalk, and Lori's point of vision, moving shot, bushes. Up the sidewalk is a series of bushes lining the street. They're partially hidden in the shadows of a bush is the shape of a man watching them. He is barely visible, almost blending in with the dark foliage. Angle on Lori. Annie. Lori says, "Look." Annie says, "Look where?" Lori says, "Behind that bush." Annie looks. Point of vision, moving shot, bushes. The shape is gone, just bushes. Angle on Lori. Annie. Annie says, "I don't see anything." Lori says, "The man who drove by so fast, the one you yelled at." Annie says, "Subtle, isn't he? Hey, creep." Annie walks over to the Annie walks right over to the bushes and kicks them hard. Nothing happens. Annie continuing, "Lori, my dear, he wants to talk to you." Lori just stands on the sidewalk several feet from the bushes. Annie continuing, "He wants to talk. He wants to take you out tonight." Slowly, Lori walks over and stares at the bush. He was standing right here. Annie says, "Poor Lori, you scared another one away." Lori says, "Cute." They start walking down the sidewalk again. Annie, it's tragic. You never go out. He must have a small fortune stashed from babysitting so much. Lori says, "The guys think I'm too smart." Lori glances back to the bushes behind them. Annie, I don't think you're wacko. Or it says, I don't. I think, oh, let's see here. "The guys think I'm too smart." Lori glances back to the bushes behind them. Annie says, I don't. I think you're wacko. You're seeing men behind bushes. The 2 girls stop in front of Annie's house, another small suburban home. Annie continuing, "Well, home sweet home. I'll see you later." Lori says, "Okay, bye." Annie walks up to her door. For a moment, Lori looks around cautiously before starting down the sidewalk again. Camera tracking with her. A strong wind rises and blows her hair in front of her face. Again, she turns around and glances back down the street. Lori's point of vision, bushes, there's still nothing there. Angle on Lori. Suddenly, Lori walks right into a man standing on the sidewalk in front of her. She screams and drops her books. It is Lee Brackett, Annie's father. He is a tall man in a county sheriff's uniform. He quickly bends down and picks up her books. Brackett says, "Excuse me, Lori." Lori says, "Mr. Brackett." Brackett says, "Didn't mean to startle you." Lori says, "It's okay." And Brackett says, "Well, it's Halloween. I guess everybody's entitled to a good scare," which in the movie it says one good scare. It says everyone's entitled to one good scare. Lori says, "Yes, sir. Nice seeing you." Brackett walks down the sidewalk to his house. Lori bundles her books and hurries up the street. And then to Lori's house during the day of Halloween. Lori walks up on the front porch of her house. She pauses a moment and glances down the street. Lori's point of vision, trick-or-treaters. Several children in costumes are going door to door collecting their treats. Angle on Lori. Lori to herself, "Well, kiddo, I thought you outgrew superstition." Back to Lori's house, day of Halloween. Lori strolls through the living room, through the doorway into the kitchen. We see Lori's mother busy making candied apples. That wasn't in the movie. Lori walks into her house and goes right up to her bedroom, which maybe they'll show that here in a second, or maybe they'll say that here in a second. But yeah, so once Lori stands outside watching the trick-or-treaters, she goes into her house, goes right into her bedroom, and we'll see what the script says here about that. But the movie does not show her mom making anything in the movie, not doing any baking or cooking pies or whatever. Doesn't show any of that. So let's see what it says here. Through the doorway into the kitchen, we see Lori's mother baking candied apples. Lori says, "Hi, Mom, I'm home." Lori's mother says, "Lori, Annie just called." Lori, Annie just called. She said, "Call her back." Lori turns and hurries up the stairs. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch the scene again. I don't remember it. I don't remember her talking to her mom. But I'll have to go back and watch that scene again. Maybe she did. Maybe she did see her mom maybe it showed that for a brief moment in the movie. Where she said that she had gotten a call from Annie and said to call her back. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that scene and see if that is in the movie. After the last podcast, I went back and rewatched the beginning of the Halloween movie that went along with the scripts that I read last time, and there were a few things I was wrong on that I did correct in the comments, so make sure you check that out. So I'll have to go back and watch that scene to see if I missed something there. As many times as I've watched Halloween, I just don't remember the mother talking to her. I just remember her going into her house and up to her bedroom is what I thought. Anyway, so Lori walks into her bedroom. She tosses her books on the bed and starts to her telephone. The wind blows her curtains through the open window. Lori crosses to the window and leans up to close it. Lori's point of vision backyard. From her room in the secondary story, Lori can see into the backyard next door. And I thought that was their own backyard in the movie that she was looking at. There's a clothesline with sheets blowing in the wind. In between the sheets, we glimpse the shape standing there looking up at Lori. I thought that was in their backyard. I'm gonna have to pay attention to that scene too again. I thought that was in their backyard, not at the neighbor's house. Angle on Lori, she freezes, stares down fearfully. Lori's point of vision backyard. The sheets continue to twist and turn in the wind, but now the shape is gone. Angle on Lori. Lori slams the window and locks it. She slowly walks to the middle of her room and stands there for several moments, unsure as whether she has actually seen it. Suddenly the phone rings, loud and shrill, startling Lori. She answers it. Lori says, hello, silence. Lori continuing, hello. There's a sound of the receiver like chewing. Lori continuing, who is this? The chewing continues. She slams the receiver down. Almost immediately, the phone rings again. Lori looks at it. It rings again. She picks it up. Lori says, hello. Annie says, why did you hang up on me? Lori says, Annie, was that you? Annie says, of course. Lori says, why don't you say anything? Why didn't you say anything? You scared me to death. Annie said in a shrill, or with her mouth full, couldn't you hear me? Lori says, I thought it was an obscene phone call. Annie says, how now you hear obscene chewing? You're losing it, Lori. Lori, I've already lost it. Annie says, I doubt that. Listen, my mother is letting me use her car. I'll pick you up at 6:30. Lori, sure, see you later. Annie says, bye. Lori hangs up. Lori to herself, calm down, this is ridiculous. And then to a graveyard, the day of Halloween, 1978, October 31st. Wide shot on an old graveyard on a windy hillside. Camera booms down as a car pulls up on the small road. In FG in full gear, I'm guessing is what that means. Sam Loomis gets out along with Taylor, the graveyard owner. Taylor is a small, officious man in his late 60s. He glances at a small notepad. Taylor, let's see. Myers, Judith Myers. Row 18, plot 20. Over this way. Before I continue on, give you a little update on the cigar. I've had to do a couple relights. And it could be due to me talking, of course, but the construction's doing well still. The draw's doing great still. It's not cracking, falling apart. Got a little bit of an uneven burn right here. I'm going to touch that up and see if that will stay straightened out after I touch it up. Just a slight touch up, just a slight uneven burn, but not too bad. I thought I'd get that touched up so it burns evenly. And getting more pepper again. Getting more pepper again. Lots of leather, cedar. Getting a lot of great smoke off of this, by the way, too. And the aromas are great, nice cedar aromas. But getting some zesty fruit flavors to it right now. But that black pepper is really standing out again, and the spice. Getting some slight cocoa, and getting some nice slight dark roast coffee also. Can't remember if that was in the notes or not. But I am getting some slight dark roast coffee. Definitely going back to being more full strength. It kind of calmed down a little bit, was more medium strength, but now it's kind of going back to a full strength, full bodied kind of cigar again. Building up some nice ash there. Nice gray ash, whitish gray ash. So anyway, right now my rating, because of the two relights, whether it's my fault or not, I'm going to say it's a 8 out of 10 so far on the cigar. Let's see. Your Taylor says, let's see, Mike Myers, Judith Myers. Now Taylor's he's the keeper of the graveyard. Says row 18, plot 20, over this way. And then Loomis and Taylor begin walking along through the graveyard, winding around headstones and flowers. Taylor continuing, every town has something like this happen. I remember a guy over as Russellville. Charlie Howell, about 15 years ago, he finished his dinner, excuses himself from the table, went out into the garage and got a hacksaw, then came back into the house, kissed his wife and two children goodbye, and then proceeded to, and that's where the story ends, because Loomis says, where are we? And Taylor says, oh, just right over there a ways. And I remember Judith Myers, just couldn't believe it, a young boy like that. Taylor stops cold. Loomis says lost. Taylor says sadly, why do they do it? He points to a plot right in front of them. Loomis stares. The headstone is missing, uprooted from the ground. Taylor says, goddamn kids, they'll do anything on Halloween. Loomis, whose grave is it? Taylor checks his notebook, then counts the rows and plots. Taylor says 1820, and he says Judith Myers. So Taylor gives Loomis a quizzical look. Loomis shakes his head and looks out across the graveyard. Loomis says he came home. Back to Laurie's house at dusk. Camera begins on the trees that line the residential street, twisting and writhing in the dusk wind. Slowly, camera booms down to Laurie waiting outside her house by the street. She carries a tote bag with school books and knitting needles stuck inside in a large pumpkin. The sun is a pale glow behind the street. Let's see here. I thought it said she was right in front of her house, which she had walked down to the corner of their block and was sitting on a big cement block, waiting for a friend to pick her up. Slowly, camera booms down to Laurie waiting outside her house by the street. Yeah, so in the movie, she walks to the corner of the block and sits on a big cement block with all of her stuff waiting. Waiting for her friend to pick her up. So Laurie turns her gaze down the street. Laurie's point of vision, trick-or-treaters. So she sees trick-or-treaters, more children in costumes, walk from house to house, some with mothers and sisters, trick-or-treating. The wind blows, their costumes billowing them outward. Angela and Laurie, she watches the trick-or-treaters as a car swings around the corner and pulls up in front of her. It is Annie. Annie says, hurry up. Laurie walks around the passenger door and gets in. Annie's car at dusk on October 31st, 1978. Annie pulls away from the curb and hands Laurie a joint. Annie says, we just have time. Laurie lights the joint, puffs vigorously. Annie continuing, you still spooked? Laurie says, I wasn't spooked. Annie says, lies. Laurie, I saw someone standing in Mr. Riddle's backyard. Maybe it was their backyard. Maybe I was wrong. I was thinking it was Laurie's family's backyard. But she did say Riddle's backyard. So it must have been the backyard of their house next to the neighbor's house. So I'm guessing that was correct. Because I do remember this in the movie. Annie says, probably Mr. Riddle. Laurie says, he was watching me. And he says, Mr. Riddle was watching you, Laurie. Mr. Riddle is 87. Laurie says he can't still watch. Annie, that's probably all he can do. Behind them through the rear view mirror, we see Loomis's station wagon pull out of an alley and follow along, which in the movie, it just showed him parked on the street and then he pulled out into the street and followed him, not coming out of an alley. Annie continuing, what's the pumpkin for? Laurie says, I brought it for Tommy. I figured making a jack-o'-lantern would keep him occupied. And he says, I always said you'd make a fabulous Girl Scout. Laurie says, thanks. Annie, for that matter, I might as well be a Girl Scout tonight. I plan on making popcorn and watching Dr. Dementia. 6 straight hours of horror movies. Little Lindsay Wallace won't know what hit her. Haddonfield Square at dusk. Annie's car drives through the main square of Haddonfield. Following behind is the station wagon. Back to Annie's car. Annie points up ahead and quickly hides the joint. Annie says, my dad. Point of view through windshield. 2 police cars are parked in the street in front of Nichols hardware store. An alarm bell inside the store clangs shrilly. Inside Annie's car, they quickly roll down the window and began wildly clearing out the marijuana smoke. Behind them, the station wagon disappears off down a side street. Angle on police cars. Annie's car stops at the police cars. Lee Brackett strolls out to the car and leans down to the window. Brackett says, "Hi, Annie, Lori." Annie says, "Hi, Dad, what happened?" Brackett strains to hear over the alarm, "What?" Annie says, "What happened?" "Someone broke into the hardware store, probably kids." Annie says, "You blame everything on kids." Brackett says, "The only things missing were some Halloween masks, rope, a set of knives. What does that sound like to you?" Annie turns to Lori. Annie says, it's hard growing up with a cynical father." Behind Brackett, Sam Loomis walks up the street. We see Loomis talk to a cop who points to Brackett. "Brackett, you're going to be late at the Doyles. You're going to be late at the Doyles, Annie." Annie unable to hear over the alarm. "Huh?" Just as Brackett is about to speak, the alarm goes off. Brackett shouts, "You're going to be late." Annie says to Lori, he shouts too. Brackett smiles at Loomis walking up behind him. "Goodbye, girls," Brackett says. Annie and Lori say bye. Annie's car pulls away. Loomis, "Sheriff, I'm Dr. Sam Loomis," is what Loomis says to the sheriff. He says, "Sheriff, I'm Dr. Sam Loomis." Brackett says, "Lee Brackett." As they talk, camera slowly moves around them to a view of the street. Loomis says, "I'd like to talk with you if I could." Brackett says, "Maybe a few minutes. I gotta stick around here." Loomis says it's important. Loomis's station wagon moves by behind them. Loomis doesn't even see it. Brackett, 10 minutes. Loomis, "I'll be there." And then cut to night, October 31st, 1978. Through the blowing trees, we see the full moon rising in the night sky. There are sounds of wind and chirping, crickets. Residential street at night. Annie's car moves down a quiet little residential street and pulls up in front of a two-story house set back from the street, the Doyle's house. Angle from the station wagon. We're in front seat of the station wagon. Through the windshield, we see Lori get out of Annie's car, say goodbye, and walk up to the Doyle's house. Then Annie's car makes a wide U-turn in the street and starts down the other direction. The station wagon pulls forward and follows her. Annie stops 3 houses down the street and pulls into a garage. The station wagon stops several feet away. We see Annie come out of the garage and walk to another 2-story frame house, the Wallaces. Tracking shot behind the shape. The shape gets out of the station wagon, close to camera, so we can't see him. He glances down the street. Gusts of wind blowing the costumes of children, going from house to house. The shape moves. Camera tracks behind him as he walks toward the Wallace's house. The shape stops in front. Through the front room windows, we see Annie talking to the Wallaces as they put on their coats. The front door opens. Camera and shape quickly move behind a tree to hide from sight. The Wallaces step out of their house and walk to the garage. Annie and Lindsay Wallace, pretty little 9-year-old girl, stand in the doorway framed by the hall light. Out of the garage comes the Wallace's car. It turns and disappears down the street. Annie closes the door. The shape steps out from behind the tree and stares at the house. Angle on the window. The shape moves to see inside a window of the Wallace house. Inside, we see Annie turn on the TV. She goes to a mirror all the while and begins to brush her hair. Myers' house at night. A police car pulls up in front of the Myers house. Brackett and Loomis get out and stand by the front gate. Loomis says, "Anybody live here?" Brackett says, "Not since 1963, since it happened. Every kid in Haddonfield thinks this place is haunted." Loomis says, "They may be right." Angle down the side of the house. Looking down on the side of the house, we see Loomis and Brackett walk up the front porch. A broken, rusted rain gutter clings back and forth against the house in the wind. Myers' house at night, and in front, let's see, the front door slowly opens. Brackett and Loomis stand in the doorway. They glimpse at each other. Brackett drawn his gun, and the two men step inside. It is totally dark in this house. Brackett's flashlight comes on, illuminating the two men as they move through the house. Camera tracks with them. Suddenly, Brackett stops. He trains his flashlight on a small object in the corner of the room. Loomis says, "What is it?" For a moment, Brackett doesn't speak. Then he steps closer to the object. Brackett says a dog. Both men looking down off screen at the animal. Brackett bends down to it. Brackett continuing says, "Still warm." He stands back up at Loomis. He stands back up and looks at Loomis. Loomis says he got hungry. Brackett gets a disgusted expression and steps away. Brackett says, "Come on, a skunk could have killed it." Loomis says, "Could have." Brackett looks at the dead animal. A man wouldn't do that. Loomis says he isn't a man. Myers' bedroom. Loomis and Brackett cautiously step into the bedroom, the same room where the murder took place 15 years ago. The glow from a distant streetlight casts the shadow of blowing trees on the walls. "It happened in here," Loomis said. Loomis walks over to the spot where the sister was sitting. Loomis continuing, "She was sitting right here when he came through the door." Loomis turns and glances at the window. He slowly walks towards it. Loomis continuing, "He must have watched them through this window." Loomis's point of view, window. Camera slowly tracks him toward the window, angle on Loomis. Loomis steps behind the window. Loomis continuing, standing just outside, he could peer over the sill. Blown loose by the wind, the rain gutter suddenly swings down and smashes through the window with a thundering crash of broken glass. Loomis jumps back, reaches into his coat pocket, and draws a .357 Magnum revolver. Brackett stares at him. Loomis sees Brackett's reaction and slowly reholsters the revolver. Loomis continuing looks at Brackett, says, "I suppose I do seem a bit sinister for a doctor." Brackett says, "Looks like to me you're just plain scared." Loomis says, "I am." He glances around the bedroom. "I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left, no conscience, no reason, no understanding, and even the most rudimentary sense of life for death or right or wrong. I met the 6-year-old boy with a blank, cold, emotionless face and the blackest of eyes, the devil's eyes. I spent 8 years trying to reach him and another 7 trying to keep him locked away when I realized what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely simply evil." Brackett just looked at him for a moment. Brackett says, "What do we do?" Loomis says, "He was here earlier tonight and he may be coming back. I'm going to wait for him." Brackett says, "I keep thinking I should call the radio and TV stations." Loomis says, "If you do, they'll be seeing him everywhere, on every street corner, in every house. Just tell your men to shut their mouths and keep their eyes open." Brackett says, "I'll chat back in an hour." Brackett turns and walks out of the bedroom for a moment. Loomis stares at the rain gutter and the broken window. Cut to Doyle's house. I think we'll end right there. I think we'll save the next show for what continues on. I think I think we'll go ahead and stop there. I think that's a good stopping point, and we will continue on the next episode. If you guys have been enjoying this tonight, let me know what you think of this show so far. Let me know what you thought of the first show, part 1 of this. Tonight is part 2 of the original Halloween 1978 scripts from the 1978 Halloween movie by John Carpenter and Debra Hill. And I appreciate you guys so much for being here tonight. And this cigar is continuing to do pretty well. I thought in the beginning the draw was good, but then it got really tight, so I used my draw enhancer and it opened it right up. It's been a perfect draw since. I have had to do a couple of relights, but I think it's probably due to me talking possibly. But right now it's still doing good. It's building up that great white ash. It's got a nice, almost razor sharp burn line after I touched it up. It's staying nice and even. So I think it's doing well. And I won't be able to finish this, of course, but I will leave in the comments how this ends. I'm guessing it'll do great right down to the nub. I love smoking cigars down to the nub, and I think this is going to be a nub-worthy cigar, definitely. So a beautiful cigar, really is. Really like it a lot so far. And again, the cigar was the Montecristo, Espada, Oscuro, Magnum, Especial, 6x60 Gordo. Again, wrapper, well-aged Habano, rare well-aged Habano Rosado, Oscuro that contributes to the complex flavors of the cigar. And then blender filler, various Nicaraguan tobaccos, including Cuban-Seed Habano, leaves from Jalapa. And again, the Montecristo cigars began in 1935 in Havana, Cuba. And when it was discovered by Alonso Menendez and Pepe Garcia, founded when they founded this brand. So, so there you go. Information on the cigar one more time. And again, buddy Jacob Lee, thank you for gifting the cigar to me. It was a birthday gift from my buddy Jacob Lee. So make sure you check out his channel. Make sure you do that, guys. Over here on YouTube. Jake Not From State Farm is his channel. Jake's Music State is his show. And it's a great show that he's got. He's got a lot of great hard rock metal reviews, like I said. And a little bit of some cigar content as well. And I've been a guest on his show. He's been a guest on mine. He's just a great friend. And you guys know our story. I'm sure you guys know our story. We met at Accept KK's Priest concert last September, September 3rd of 2024. We met at this concert in Denver, Colorado. We've been the best of friends since. Almost pretty much found out we're just almost exactly alike with everything, with what we're into, and podcast, cigars, hard rock, heavy metal, everything. It's just amazing. The only thing different is he's 20 years younger than me, and which is fine. And then make sure you guys check out Lance Williams, the Cigars Daily by Lance, here on YouTube as well. He's got a lot of great cigar reviews and just a lot of great cigar information, especially if you guys are beginners. A lot of great cigar information that'll help you to enjoy your journey a little more. So anyway, guys, give you guys one last toast with my crack and rum. So cheers. And cheers to you guys. Whoops. Anyway, there's a close-up of my little Michael Myers voodoo doll. Oh, anyway. Hope you guys have enjoyed this tonight. I really do. And glad I could smoke a cigar with you guys. Please let me know what you think about the Halloween 1978 show so far that we've been reading about. Let me know what, if you are a big fan of the franchise, if you follow it, if you don't, what you think about it. Whatever comments, thoughts, questions you have, throw them at me. I'll make sure I answer you guys back. But let me guys know in the comments what cigar you brought with you tonight, what drink you brought with you if you did. And cheers to you guys again. And thank you for all your support to me, guys, here again. So many of you out there that are following me, and I appreciate you guys so much. I couldn't do this without you. And again, I wouldn't be here without you, and I wouldn't want to do this without you. So thank you again. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, if you like what you're saying, please subscribe today and hit the bell below to get all the latest content updates on this channel. And leave me a like, share this content with everybody you know, guys. I would sure appreciate it. But anyway, guys, I am going to let you go. I'm signing out. And I appreciate you guys so much. And you guys have a great rest of your night. And thanks again for joining me for part 2 of from Havana to horror. And again, guys, thanks for hanging out with me a little bit. I appreciate you guys. And I'll see you on the next episode. I'll see you in the comments. And I'll talk to y'all later. And again, guys, thanks for all your support to me. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye now.